In DBT, everything revolves around models. You would have also heard me saying models multiple times in the previous videos. But the question is, what exactly is a model? Is it just an SQL file or is it something more powerful than that? In this video, we will break down DBT models from scratch and see how they transform raw data into analytics ready datasets. Hi everyone, welcome back to this series on DBT with Snowflake. In the previous video, we discussed dbt_project.yaml file and how it controls the behavior of our DBT project. If you have not watched that video, then please watch that one as you will get an understanding of the blueprint of the DBT project and then come back over here. Today, we will focus on the most important building block of DBT, which are its models. By the end of this video, you will understand what DBT models are, how are they created, how DBT creates them in Snowflake, how these models connect together to convert raw data into analytics ready datasets. If you're new here, then I am Radhika and this is my YouTube channel Datasart. If you have not subscribed already, then please do consider subscribing and hit the like button. And now without further ado, let's get started. Now before I explain about what are models, let us first push this code into GitHub repository, and the reason being currently our repository is empty because we have not pushed any code, and we have done lots of things like we have created the structure of the DBT project, we have understood the dbt_project.yaml file and have some other files added to this particular repository. So let's push this code. So for this, I will go to my terminal and create a new terminal. And here I'm going to run a few git commands. So first let us move into correct directory. So I'm going to do cd and then dbt_hr analytics project. So I am in this main folder or main directory and this is the DBT project, but we will be pushing every code including this dbt_hr analytics directory. So I'm being in this directory so that when I push all of these updates. So now what I will do is I will say git status to understand what are the files that I need to send to Git or my repository, and I know that these are the files that are included. The next is we have to do git add so that I can add these files to the staging area, and again I will just double check the git status. So there are all of these files added to the staging area. Now I will commit. So I'm going to write message initial commit because this is our first commit with dbt schema, and I'm going to press enter, and the last is git push origin main so that we push this code to GitHub repository. Now as soon as I do that, I'm seeing that there are 20 updates and all of this, and I'm seeing this has been done successfully. So let us move to our GitHub repository and just refresh it to double check that things have moved into this particular repo. And yes, we can see that we have all of these files. Then we have dbt_hr analytics folder, which is our DBT schema. So now we have got everything in it. Now the question is, what is a DBT model? So in simple terms, it is just an SQL file. So when I say it is an SQL file, which means its extension would be .sql. Now you will ask, what is there in this SQL file? Do we need any special kind of syntax or what needs to be written here? So this SQL file will contain only one select statement. There should only be one select statement, and this select statement represents one transformation step. And when DBT is going to execute this particular SQL file, then this will create a table or a view. There are other things also that can be created in Snowflake, but let's focus on the two simple ones which everybody knows, considering you're coming from an SQL background. It creates a table or view in Snowflake or what. So in all, DBT model is nothing. It is just a fancy term, and it is just an SQL file with one select statement. There cannot be multiple select statements, and each of these files is a model. So one SQL file contains one select statement, and this represents one model. And this will create one table or view. This is with an asterisk because there are other things also, but for simplicity I'm saying that it can create one table or view in Snowflake because we are considering DBT with Snowflake. This is all you have to understand about models, because the things from here, like how to create this file, what you need to write into this file, you already know. Why? Because I'm sure you know how to write a select statement, and if you know how to do that, things become easier for you. And if you know how to create CTEs using with statements, then this is cherry on top, because this is exactly what you need to do in the SQL file. So this model, you can compare this with like when you play Legos. In Lego, you have multiple components. You stack them on top of each other, beside each other to create the full structure. Similarly, in DBT, you create multiple models. You stack them horizontally or vertically, and this way you create the full data set which are analytics ready. Now the next question is, where do models live? And if you have watched my previous video on dbt_project.yaml file, you already have the answer. If you do, pause the video here and put your answer in the comments below. So let's go back to our dbt_project.yaml file. And if you remember, we told dbt here where it needs to look to find our models. We told that model paths is this models directory. So if you look in the left hand side, this is the models directory. If you have any files already here, like an example folder and a couple of models, that is SQL files, then I would recommend just deleting them. DBT, when you do DBT in it, it just creates it on its own. So I've already deleted that. That's why you're seeing an empty models folder. But for you, it may have something. So whenever you will be writing .sql files in this models directory, DBT will know that this is a model and I have to create it as a table or view, however we have specified. Now for our project, in the models directory, we are going to create 3 different directories. So models directory can be nested. So for our project, we are going to create bronze model, then we are going to create silver model, and finally the gold model. Now we are following the medallion architecture. I have already explained about medallion architecture in my previous videos if you want to take a look over there. Now with this medallion architecture, what we are going to do is, for our bronze model, this will just be our staging data or our source data as is. So this is exactly as our source data with minor changes. I'm going to be explaining about what are those changes as we will be building the model practically. But just remember, this is bronze and that's exactly how a bronze layer should be. It should be exactly the same as source, except you can have minor tweaks like changing the name of the column, etc., to align with the broader strategy. Then in the silver layer, we are going to build multiple models. Here we are going to be doing data cleaning and transforming. What are the different transformations that we are going to apply? We will see that at a later stage, but I'm just trying to explain the overall structure of this models directory for our project. So here major data cleaning and transformations will happen so that our data reaches a stage where it can be shown to users after adding business logic. And you have guessed it right, in our gold layer, we will add business logic on top of the data that we receive from silver layer. So the data flows from bronze layer to silver layer and silver layer to gold layer. And you can see that we are referencing these models in each other. We are referencing bronze model over here. We are referencing silver model over here. So we are reusing our models. And remember the term, we are referencing these models in each of these different stages. At final gold layer, this is what we will be giving to our analyst or our ML engineers or anyone who needs access to these particular data models. Now enough of theory and let's start doing things practically. Yes, we are building our first data model. To do that, we will need to create a .sql file in models directory. I'm just going to be starting with very basic data model where I'm just fetching data exactly how it is sitting in our Snowflake. So we are fetching data from Snowflake. So our database is HR_analytics. Schema that we created was staging, and the data table that we have is HR_data. So we are going to fetch data as is from this HR data table. So let's do that. For this, I'm going to go into my models directory and create a new file. And I'm going to call this demo.sql because I'm just demoing how to create a data model. Now here, remember that we always have to write one select statement. So I'm writing select star from, and because we have already established a connection between DBT and Snowflake, so here we can write HR analytics because this is our database, then staging as this is our schema, and then HR_data. As soon as I do this, we just have to save this file and our data model is created. Now if you go into your Snowflake and refresh this, you don't see any table or view created like I was saying before. Why? The reason is we have not run this data model yet. We have to run it, and to do this we need to run a command called as dbt run from terminal. So let's open our terminal. So I'm going to get a new terminal, and here I'm just going to first activate my virtual environment because currently I'm in my base environment. So let's activate it using source.venv/bin/activate. Oh, we have to first go inside our folder where our environment sits, and now here I have to do source.venv/bin/activate, and you can now see that I have activated my environment. I'm just going to deactivate this base environment so that only my virtual environment is active. And now here we first need to go into this dbt folder. Why? Because all dbt commands need to be run from this dbt_HR_analytics folder, otherwise you will get an error. I can show you what that error will be. So if I do dbt run over here, it will say that encountered an error, no dbt_project.yaml found at this path, because obviously this dbt_project.yaml file is in this folder and we are currently in the outer folder. And remember that how dbt will know that this is a dbt folder when it will see the dbt_project.yaml file. So the first thing dbt does is it finds this particular file, and because it is not able to find it, it's throwing this error. So let us move into our dbt folder, and here I will do dbt run. Now as soon as I do that, dbt will establish a connection between our dbt and Snowflake, and then we'll try to create this model. Now if you look at this statement, one of one OK created SQL view model staging.demo. So dbt has created a view for us. We will try to understand how to create a table instead of a view, but first let us focus on it created a view, and the view is in staging schema we have demo. So let's go to our Snowflake and refresh this, and if you see here a view has been created and the view name is demo. So I'm just going to create a new file here, and let's query this to see what data is there. Have we got our model or not? So I'm going to say select star from demo. I have already selected HR analytics and staging from here, so it knows which database to query and what schema. So I'm just going to run this command now. As soon as I do that, we can see that 1470 rows, exactly how many there were in the HR data table, they are over here, and we have got all the columns because we did select star. So congratulations, you have created your first data model, and it is as simple as this process. Now as you can see over here, our view is created the same name as we have defined this file. So the model name, whether it creates a view in Snowflake or whether it creates a table in Snowflake, it is always equal to the name of the file that you have defined it in. Now you understand what your model will look like in Snowflake. A quick tip or recommendation from DBT is, if you have bigger model names, like if you have to define staging, HR data, then you put underscores in it rather than a dot. So your model name could be staging underscore HR underscore data. So using underscores is recommended by DBT. Now we have seen here that what DBT did was it used a select statement to create a view in Snowflake. But how is that possible? Because we have never heard of using a select statement to create a view or a table. So there must be something that is happening behind the scene in DBT, which is converting this select statement into a create view or create table statement. So how do you see the SQL that DBT is running to create these models? For this, if you see over here, after we ran this DBT run command, there is a new folder created here called as target. If you go into target, you can see compiled and run. There are a lot of other things, but we're going to go into the compile directory first, and let's open this demo.sql. So here you will see the compiled version as to what DBT has compiled this into. It will make more sense when we will be using references and sources, etc., or using Jinja templates. You will know more about this in our upcoming videos. But for now, understand that you can use a template, and a template is, you know, that we're going to fill that with some data afterwards, which means at the compile time. So at the compile time, if you want to look at what DBT is finally compiling, then we can come to this place, target, compiled, and whatever model you want to view, and you can view what is the compiled version of the model. Now to view the compiled create statement that DBT has created for this model, then we are going to come into run and open our demo.sql file. And if you look over here, you can see that there is a wrapper around this select star from HR analytics staging HR data. This is what we wrote in demo.sql file, but DBT has added this wrapper and it is saying create or replace view, and it has given the name. So this is how DBT is converting select statement into a create statement so that your table or view can be created in Snowflake. I hope now it is clear that how a select statement is getting converted into a create table or create view statement. Now I know that you must have a question that what if I don't want to create this model as a view, rather a table? What do I need to do for this? So it's very simple in DBT. For this, you need to go into dbt_project.yaml file, and you can define this over here in the models configuration. Now there are multiple places where you can define configurations in DBT for these models, but for now let us focus on dbt_project.yaml file. DBT best practices say that you should be defining global configurations over here, and these configurations will apply in general to all of these, let's say, models or snapshots or whatever configuration you're defining over here. So these are global configurations, and if you have to define something specific, then you can define it in the other places. We will see them later on. So for us, we want to define that whatever models are being created in this models directory, they should be created as table and not as view. So I'm just going to delete this example because I have removed that folder from models directory. If you have not done that, and then please do remove it. And now I'm just going to say whatever models are there in this dbt_HR_analytics, you should materialize this as table. So in DBT, the way we want to see data into Snowflake is called as materialization. How we want to see things in Snowflake, as a table, as a view, or there are other materializations available. But for now, let's just focus on these two. So we are saying that our materialization should be a table, and that's what configuration we are defining over here. So whenever you have this plus sign, then DBT knows that it is a configuration. So this line determines the SQL that DBT uses to create the model in your warehouse. So what I'm going to do is, now that I have added that the materialized should be table, let's save this dbt_project.yaml file, and now I'm again going to do dbt run. I'm in my dbt folder, so I'm just doing dbt run over here. And now as soon as you do that, you will see that again DBT is making a connection between DBT and Snowflake, and now it has started to create our model. And if you look over here, it says one of one OK created SQL table model staging.demo. Earlier in our statement, when we did dbt run and materialized was view, it created SQL view model staging.demo. So you can see that we just have to change this small configuration and dbt is going to do the hard lifting for us. So to verify this, let's go back to our Snowflake, and here I'm going to refresh, and you will see that the view is gone from staging because we have removed that view, and instead that model is now created as a table. And again, the name of the table would be the same as the name of your file. So that is why it is created a demo table. Now if we do select, then again we are seeing these 1470 records and all of these columns. So you now see how easy it is, and now you can also check the compiled version of this code. So I'm going to go into this target and then demo.sql, and you can see here that around this select star from this table, it has created a wrapper, create or replace transient table HR analytics staging demo. Earlier it was a view, but now it is a table because we have changed that config in dbt_project.yaml file. Now you saw that how easy it is to convert a model which was first created as a view into a table. If you were doing this without dbt, then you would need to create or update these DDL or DML logic. However, with dbt, dbt will take care of all of these things behind the scene, so that you only just need to specify the configuration in dbt, and dbt will do everything behind the scene, abstracting these details from you. So dbt is like, don't worry about the complexity, you only need to take care of the business requirements, and what you want to achieve, leave the how with me. I will convert the config that you have provided to me using appropriate DML or DDL statements as per whatever your data warehouse uses. Now another question that might be coming to your mind is, why are we not writing DDL or DML statements for transformations? Why we are just writing select statements? So one reason to this is because most of the times if you have worked in databases, you're writing these select statements. So this means you're very familiar with these select statements, and also the syntax for the select statements does not differ very much across different databases, which means that we do not have to do much modification if we have to run, let's say, a select statement on MySQL and then SQL Server. It would be very similar. So that is why dbt has chosen select statements to write. Another reason is when you are writing these DDL or DML commands like this update, alter and create, these commands, they have different syntax across different databases. So which means you might not be familiar with these syntaxes across the database that you want to use. So it makes it harder for users to adopt to these things. That's the first reason. Also, when you're running these commands, it's not as simple as you're running a select command, because what if the table that you're creating already exists? What if the schema that you're creating is different from the schema that you want to use now? So what do you need to do with this one? These are the things which dbt will take care of behind the scene, so that you don't have to worry about it. You just write the select statement and dbt will take care about if it has to add, update, alter, whatever it has to do. So that's why we are using select statements to write these transformations. I hope this makes things clear. Now I know you have another question in your mind, which is, what if currently this model is going into the staging schema? What if I want to change the schema? I don't want my model to push into this schema but some other schema. Can we do it in dbt? Yes, absolutely we can. And again, this is where dbt_project.yaml file comes into picture. So here we are going to define the schema in which we want these models to sync into. So as demo, I'm just going to give you the configuration, and when we will be doing our dbt project, that time we're going to create multiple schemas, but I just want to show you the basics of it right now. So again, we are going to update the configuration, and this time we are going to define the schema. And the schema that I want this model to go into is demo schema. So I'm defining it in here, models and dbt_HR analytics we are materializing this as a table, and we want this to go into schema which is called as demo. So now I'm just going to save this file, and now again let's do dbt run. Now when we do that, again it first establishes the connection, and now if you see here, you can see that it says created table model staging underscore demo dot demo. So demo is our model name and staging underscore demo is the schema. If I go back here and refresh, we can see that it created another schema which is staging underscore demo, and then created a file table over there which is called as demo, and we can again query this table to see this data. Now the thing here is, if you see, I have only provided demo as my schema name, but it has taken staging underscore demo. Why is that? It's because of the way dbt creates custom schemas. So when dbt creates custom schema, it uses a macro. And to look at that macro, let's open custom schema dbt page. And here you will get the macro that dbt is using. This is macros, and we have not touched upon this topic just yet, but I'm sure when I will explain it will make more sense to you. So in macros, because this is a macro, so we have to create this in a macro folder. So we know that this is our macros folder. So I'm going to create a new file, and I'm going to call this schema underscore name.sql. You can give it whatever name you like. Now here we are pasting this macro that we copied from this dbt page. Now this is just the macro name. I just want to give you a brief overview. We will understand this in depth later on, and I'll come back to this example again there. But for now, all we need to know is this is the name of the macro. You can think of macros just like functions. So this is the function name, and these are the arguments that are passed to this function. And this argument, you have guessed it right, this is the custom schema name that you are passing from the dbt underscore project.yaml space. So now it is saying that whatever is the default schema, you set it as target.schema. Now where is this target.schema? So this is in your profiles.yaml file that got first created and is in your users directory. So go to that particular file there. Let me open my profiles.yaml file. So this is my profiles.yaml file. I have removed password and user from here, but in your profiles.yaml file, you will have these details. And in here, if you see, let's go back to our schema, and here it says target.schema. So if we have to look at target, and what's the schema name over here? So target.schema is staging. So it's picking staging over here. So it's saying default schema is equal to staging. And now if we have not provided custom name, then it says use staging, and that's why you saw that the very first time we created the table or view, it went into staging schema. But if we have provided a custom schema, then what it is doing is it is adding the default schema underscore prior to our custom schema name. So that's why it is saying staging underscore, and our custom schema name was demo. So what we need to do is we just need to update this file. We don't want this to be added, and let's just save it. Now when I'm going to run this file, you will see the difference. Now let's do dbt run. And now when dbt is going to create the demo schema that we have defined in dbt underscore project.yaml file, it's just gonna be demo and not staging underscore demo. So if you see here, it is created SQL table model demo.demo. Let's go to our Snowflake again and let's refresh. And if you see here, we have got a new schema created for us, which is demo, and we have got the table demo here. So now I can query this demo and get same results. So now you understood how we can change the schema and how custom schema is created in dbt. If you have not understood this macros concept completely, it's totally fine. We're going to revisit in our upcoming videos. One last thing to note here is we have not created this demo schema at all. dbt did the work behind the scene for us. It checked if demo existed or not as schema. As it didn't, it created the schema first and then synced our table into it or our model into it. So we don't have to worry about schema creation when we are adding new custom schemas. That's it for this particular video. We're going to be continuing talking about models in the next video. Thank you for watching. I will see you in my next one.